You know, it's going to be an awesome interview segment if the guest is a former coworker of Hilberto's. And for this Canelo Triple G3 boxing roundtable, we have to have two former coworkers of Hilberto's with Bryan Salmond and main sports anchor at KSNV News 3 in Las Vegas, and Sam Gordon, columnist and features writer of the Las Vegas Review Journal. Bryan, welcome to the show. I hear you were the first person to call Gil by his first full name, Hilberto. You did it on air. How are you?
I'm doing all right. I appreciate you having me on the show. It's good to see Gilberto Manzano. That's my guy, man. The first guy ever kind of rolled my R's. I tried it, man. And good to see Sammy the Bull here as well.
Thanks, B-Sal. I get to see you 2 days in a row after seeing you at the Aces game last night. We got a big fight week here in town. Fellas, appreciate you guys having us. Excited to talk some boxing. Big fight.
Yeah, well, definitely. I'm glad to have you guys both on. Sam, you're doing big things now. You're covering it all, with the Raiders, boxing, the Aces, you too, B-Sal. And I'm glad to have two of my former coworkers in Las Vegas. You guys are always shining. I'm disappointed I don't have my boxing shirt on because you guys, got the memo. It is a boxing roundtable. It is fight week. It is in Las Vegas, Mexican Independence Weekend, a trilogy. We have it all for this big fight here. And I was at the first two Canelo Triple G matches. I think all of us were before Fernando. Fernando actually got his first taste of boxing last week for the Andy Ruiz-Luis Ortiz fight. So he's already hooked.
Yeah.
But fellas, I think I just hyped it up, and I might have already answered my question. And before I start, a shout out to you, B-Sal, for starting the Gilberto trend, because people are calling me that now. From Sean McVay to Brandon Staley, head coaches are calling me Gilberto now. So I prefer that now. From Gil to Gilbert to Gilberto. So I appreciate you. But first question for this boxing roundtable, and you can tell I'm hyped for this fight week. So I think I am answering. But this fight took 4 years to get a trilogy going. Triple G is 40 years old. Canelo's been going up and down with weight classes, light heavyweight, super middleweight, undisputed at super middleweight. This rivalry started at middleweight. If you remember way back in the day, it feels like now. When this fight got made, were you guys at all excited? It was like, a little too late, expired. Or now that we're here for a fight week, are you guys excited? I'll start with you, Sam. I think you were at the Grand Arrival. Maybe both of you guys were. And then B, go ahead and tell me how you guys are feeling about this matchup. And Fernando, I want your opinion too, so go third.
Yeah, G. I guess, the context of the announcement, I think early on, right, there was kind of the expectation that we all had that Canelo was going to beat Dimitri Bivol, and that, had that happen, this announcement probably has a different tenor to it. I think initially it's like, okay, because of the loss, it doesn't quite have the luster that it would have had Triple G came into the ring and they done the announcement right then and there, which is what Matchroom, what Canelo, what Eddie Hearn were planning on doing. Like, that was the plan, that was the thought, and it's also a lesson, and you can't assume anything, right? Dimitri Bivol, of course, with the clinical performance. But now that it's here, it does feel like a big fight. You had hundreds of people in the lobby of the MGM Grand yesterday, mostly supporting Canelo, excited about Mexican Independence Day weekend, like you said. And at the end of the day, this is one of the biggest rivalries in boxing, in the last, certainly the last decade or so. You have two all-time, fighters, right? One smack dab in the middle of his prime, and the other at the end of a very, very storied career. You just don't want to make any assumptions. You don't want to make any assumptions whatsoever. Canelo needs this victory to get back on track. Triple G, of course, believes, and he has a strong case that he won the first two fights. This is, kind of a moment where he has nothing to lose and everything to gain. So, yeah, now that we're here, it does feel big. I am super excited and kind of, ready to put a bow on this rivalry that's, lasted 5 years, went on hiatus for a little bit, but here we are back again, and it definitely feels like the rivalry is still in place.
Yeah, gee, man, I'll echo what Sam had to say. But I'll first start off with, when I first heard that the fight was going to happen, I was like, like a third fight, because, Triple G is a bit older. Canelo is, he's coming off a loss, but still, Canelo has been Canelo. He just bit off more than he can chew with Bivol. And, I was like, but after being at the Grand Arrivals, I was there. I was the only television station to get a one-on-one with Canelo. So I talked to him up on stage. And I love boxing, like Sam loves boxing, like you love boxing, like Fernando is about to start loving boxing. And like I know, there's nothing like fight week here in Las Vegas, man. Especially a Canelo fight, the biggest star in all of boxing. So my juices are flowing, man. I'm like, man, I can't wait to actually get back in that arena. And like you said, you were at the first two fights. I was at the first two fights. Sam was there as well. The atmosphere for those Triple G Canelo fights were fantastic. I can't wait for it. And even though the last fight was 2018, I think that actually has kind of helped get the juices flowing for this fight because it was so long ago. You're like, man, you know what? It's been a good, two fights. The trilogy is going to be even better. And like I know, trilogies in boxing are generally fantastic. So I really think that someone's going to get knocked out in this one. In my opinion, I'll give you that later because I'm sure you'll ask.
hold on.
No, I think it was the Juan Manuel Marquez and Floyd Mayweather. Manny Pacquiao 3 where he dropped Pacquiao, right? He put him to sleep. Yeah, so this one feels like one of. I'm with you, Brian. I feel like this is kind of Triple G's last payday. Hey, let's get Canelo back on top. This kind of feels like one of those, like, let's get him back into the winning mode and everything. So, but it's exciting. I mean, everybody knows what this weekend means. Everybody knows what this weekend has meant since Floyd Mayweather liked boxing this weekend. Canelo likes boxing this weekend. So obviously there's a lot of excitement. There's a lot of mystery on, is Triple G over the hill at 40 years old? We talked to him and he said he's in the best shape of his life. Obviously, I didn't think he did that well against that last guy that I can't remember who he just fought, but I thought he looked a little bit, he didn't look like Triple G to me, but I mean, I guess we'll see moving forward. But the excitement is there, the rivalry's there. These guys hate each other, so if two guys that are getting into the ring hate each other, you can write it down that I'll watch because I like when there's bad blood in there.
Do they hate each other? I'm just kidding.
I don't know, but supposedly it's all personal. That kind of usually tells you.
Yeah.
It's bad blood there.
It's personal this time.
Yeah, exactly.
But Fernando, I don't know if you want to take away this next question on the Canelo Bivol loss here. But I guess I could start out the roundtable with this one here real quick. With the Canelo, losing to Dimitri Bivol, going up to light heavyweight, I think one weight class for him, and he did so well in super middleweight. It's kind of like, okay, you got to go and try it, and I respect that. I think one thing we talked about this before is like, I never knocked Floyd Mayweather for what he did when to making the money, becoming a household name. I just didn't like how people try to pretend to be Mayweather and they want to protect the O. They want to protect the O, be undefeated. So I respect Canelo for going up and forget the O, and he lost there and all that. But it wasn't a sharp Canelo. Like you mentioned, Bryan, he took too much of where he could eat or chew. And I think the thing with Bill was like he didn't have power, so it wasn't like a total domination, but he picked them apart because of the size and the skills. So I guess I ask you guys, I'll start with you, Bryan, because I know you have plenty to say on this. What did you take away from Canelo losing to Bivol? Like I know the whole respect part is there, but did he look pretty bad to you? And what can Triple G take away from that? Can he do something? And like, okay, I watched the film there. I'm going to use that for this fight here on Saturday night.
You know what? Honestly, man, I don't have any Canelo slander. I don't necessarily feel that he looked bad against Bivol. I think the biggest thing in that fight, which is apparent to anyone who knows boxing, is that they have weight classes for a reason. And his power, Canelo's power towards Bivol wasn't so. Anytime Canelo's ripping body shots against most people, you can tell they feel like, ooh. Bivol was like, his power was whatever. You know what I mean? He wasn't really tripping off of Canelo's power. That was the biggest thing to me. And the Canelo's his bad conditioning kind of reared its ugly head again in that fight. That was something that he had, in his career for a little while and then kind of got off of it. But that kind of reared his ugly head in that Bivol fight. You can tell he got tired at like the 6th or 7th round. And Bivol was, just he boxed masterfully in that fight. So I think the biggest thing that Triple G can take from that fight is just the fact that Canelo didn't go down in skill wise. I just think that, again, he realized that he bit off more than he could chew. He's not a light heavyweight. You know what I mean? He's not going to fight someone who's really that big. So And Triple G isn't that big, so I don't think that he can take any solace personally in that. And Canelo didn't lose a whole bunch. He just fought a guy that was way too big and skilled at the same time.
Sam, what do you think about that outcome for there? Is there anything Triple G could take away?
Well, Canelo was there to be hit by Dimitri Bivol, right? What was Dimitri Bivol's weapon of choice? It was his jab. He worked everything around a jab. And what is Triple G known for? What has Triple G had one of the best of in boxing for his entire career? He still has a sharp jab. He doesn't move like Dimitri Bivol does. That was, to me, I think the biggest thing in that fight is that Bivol was able to get in and out when he wanted to. He was able to fight the fight at his range. He was able to, shell up when Canelo wanted to get inside and then go to work and unload and, willing to, defend against Canelo's exchanges and quick enough to open up with his own and then get out, whatever. Triple G doesn't move quite like that. So I'm not, it's going to be stylistically very different, but we know Triple G has a jab and we know he has power, respectable power, a different kind of power than Bivol does. Like you said, G, or Bryan, whoever made the point, he was never hurt in that fight. Canelo actually hurt, but he got hit a bunch. So if you're Triple G, I think that's one big takeaway. Now, again, this fight is at 168 pounds. To Bryan's point, Canelo got tired. The conditioning wasn't there. I felt like he was much slower at that weight. You didn't see him boxing quite as efficiently. It was more of him like loading up power shots and that were relatively ineffective for the most part. He knows how to fight Triple G. He's going to fight, I think, Triple G differently than he fought Bivol, and I think we're going to see stylistically a little bit more of what we saw in the second fight, where Canelo is going to come forward. He's going to take a few to give a few, and we're going to see at 40 what Triple G's punch resistance is like. Is it the same as it was when he was 35-5? That's a long time. Triple G's been in a lot of wars, so yeah, there's some takeaways, but again, I think he's anticipating a very different style of fight at 168.
Do you guys know if Canelo's still vegan?
I didn't ask him about that.
That's a great question.
That's a good.
Because I know that
He's not eating street meat anymore, though.
Yeah, no, I know he went for the Bivol fight. He went full vegan for that fight. So I'm wondering if he's still vegan right now, and if he's still doing it for this fight, because they said that changed. That's why. Well, that was kind of a reasoning why they also used against Bivol that he just felt his body felt different.
Yeah. I'm not buying that. I'm not buying that, Fernando. Bivol gave Canelo the work.
Yeah.
No. I'm not using it as an excuse either. I'm just saying, like,
that's one of the. I'm not buying. I forget that. No, that doesn't work.
Yeah, that's almost as bad as the meat. That's almost as bad as the meat gave him the. Like,
hey, let me tell you, I live right by the border, so I go down to TJ and. That meat is delicious, so I understand why Canelo can't stay away from it.
You won't pass the PD test, Fernando. That's for sure.
Hey, that's why I'm behind. I'm outside of the ring, not in it. But watching film is one thing, but also you have to apply and execute it well. Golovkin is 40 years old. He had a solid. I thought he had an okay performance against Murata. But the power is often the last thing to go, and Triple G still had a TKO in the 9th round. But what about the footwork, the jab? Can he still get away with that? With obviously Canelo's combinations, he still has an iron chin. So, Sam, what kind of performance are you expecting from a middle-aged Triple G?
Oh, geez. Is he middle-aged now? God.
I mean, 40.
He looks Look, I will say this, right? And I know Bryan will agree. He looks great. He looks fantastic. He looks in top condition. He still has a youthful kind of presence and glow. He still has the baby face. The smile still radiates. You can tell how much this matters to him. I think to your point, Fernando, the power is going to be there. I think the jab is still going to be effective. The movement, and he was never a great mover, right? That wasn't his game per se. That, I think, is going to be troublesome for him in this fight. But he has nothing to lose. This might be it for him. Like you said, it's a massive payday. I do think, if you're Triple G, like, how could you not feel like you were robbed in the first two fights? Like, if you're him, of course you feel that way. This is one last chance to kind of avenge those wrongs and go out emptying the clip, emptying the tank, for better or for worse. And if that means risking getting knocked out, then what does he have to lose? You're 40. Like, people, I think, are kind of expecting that. And if you're Canelo, isn't that the kind of performance you want to have? I mean, I think he was very clear and very upfront. He wants a stoppage in this fight. And frankly, I think he kind of needs one, Because what are you going to take away if it's a close decision against a 40-year-old Triple G, right? Like he needs a resounding statement with this fight.
He's going to get booed. He could potentially get booed out of that stadium if he doesn't knock out Triple G.
I think he's going to try for it.
Out of shape.
Yeah, I think both fighters are going to really try for it. I think this is going to be stylistically one of the fights that is, an exciting fight that gets talked about for a while. How it ends, I don't know. We'll find out. But I think that's the fight Triple G is preparing for, and I think Canelo is preparing for that as well. I think we're going to see a lot of punches, a very different Canelo in a Triple G fighting with nothing to lose.
Sam, man, with you saying that, that helped get my juices flowing even more for this fight, because when you talk about Triple G being his swan song, and if you're an athlete, you're a boxer, you know that this may be your last big fight, and you're going to get someone that's kind of like your rival. That's going to up your training even more. That's going to up your dedication even more. So he likely is in the best shape of his life, G. Coming into this fight, I think that we may see one of the better Triple Gs that we've seen in a long time, being that think about the motivation that he has for this fight against Canelo Alvarez. And that helps you, the mundane of training and everything else. He probably likely use that in his training. So I think that we're going to see probably one of the better Triple Gs. To me, honestly, I don't know whether or not we're going to see one of the better Canelos. You know what I mean? Even though he's coming off of a loss, you would think that he would be one of the better, Canelos, being that he knows that he may need a knockout. He may try to avoid being booed and everything else, and he didn't look good in his last bout. But we've been on top for so long. Marvin Hagler said it, man, how it's hard to get up and train when you got them silk sheets. You know what I mean? And Canelo had silk sheets for a long time, so we'll see.
Gilbert, what do you think?
Yeah, R.I.P. Marvin Hagler, one of the best to ever do it. And I'm gonna definitely epically reach here, but I just want to drop some history because you're wearing the Muhammad Ali shirt, B. Remember when Muhammad Ali was gonna fight a young George Foreman and nobody gave him a shot to beat him, and he shocked the world and he won? What if that happens here with a 40-year-old? I know it's a reach, it's a big reach, but it happens in boxing. Even when Foreman came back, Foreman came back in his 50s and he beat some young people too. So you never know in boxing. There you go. So you never know when you have some power on your side. Yeah, age could hurt you. And I think you mentioned this, but this point was good here from Sam saying, he does have the iron chin. He's never been dropped in his career, which is crazy to think when he's been fighting that long. I know he's fought a bunch of guys that were nobodies, but there's a good portion there. They're taking a hit from Canelo in two big fights. He didn't go down. So I think that for me is like, okay, that's a real chin right there. But how do you take that and withstand it at age 40? Is it a little different? Is Canelo's pop a little different if he's still vegan? We got to figure that out, guys. But I think for Triple G's, Triple G's for psyche, the mindset. I think this fight this rivalry has ate at him for the last 4 years. I think he probably told us, Fernando, in the interview with us, that he probably would have retired a long time ago if that outcome in Vegas was better. And he doesn't want to fight in Las Vegas. I know we all love Vegas, but Triple G does not. Remember LA Bird 118-110, the split decision. I think I scored it both fights from ringside for Triple G. And he probably feels the same way that he won that fight. So I think that it could maybe hurt him or help him. Like, he's very motivated and they don't like each other. This could be a brawl. And like you guys mentioned, a trilogy, somebody usually goes down. We saw that epic fight between Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury. That was a trilogy too. But that's my thoughts on Triple G. And just for the sake of time, I want to get to predictions, but I want to have a little fun too on the round table. So, Fernando, we're going to save our pound for pound list here. I want to get Sam and Bryan to give me their top 5 pound for pound, because when Canelo lost, it kind of created a little shuffling there. I think people just assume it's going to be Canelo. So I'll give you some names real quick, and I know I'm making you work on the spot, but there's a Terrence Crawford, Errol Spence, Alexander Usyk, Tyson Fury, the monster from Japan, Inoue, Jermell Charlo, Devin Haney, Tank Davis. Can we get a top 5? Who wants to go first? I don't want to put you guys on the spot. Who's ready, Sam or Bryan?
Age before beauty, man. Go ahead.
Okay.
Young age before beauty.
I got to go, G. My number 1 pound for pound fighter is Terrence Bud Crawford. It was Canelo until the Bivol loss. I think you talk about Crawford. I understand the resume at 147 might not be what you want it to be right now. undisputed at 140, three-weight world champion. And then the eye test. This is a spectacular fighter that can do a little bit of everything, right? Number 2, Alexander Usyk defended his championships against AJ, a motivated AJ that I thought had a much better game plan. Undisputed at cruiserweight. Now, unified champion in heavyweight with a defense under his belt. Of course, the Olympic pedigree. He would be my number 2. At this juncture in time, number 3, Naoya Inoue, the monster, like you said, from Japan. Again, a guy that passes the eye test, did what we'd never seen be done to Nonito Donaire. I mean, the power, the accuracy, the precision. This is a guy that comes into the ring and means business, and you know what you're going to get from him every time out. Number 4, at this stage of the game, I still am going with Canelo Alvarez. He lost to Dimitri Bivol. He bit off more than he can chew, but that doesn't take away what he accomplished as a 4-weight world champion and what he did in what was it, 11 months, unifying the super middleweight division, being the first undisputed super middleweight champion, and taking away O's from 3 dudes that had the belt. He was very impressive in that run. 1 loss doesn't change that. And then 5th for me would be Errol Spence Jr. Just a premier resume at welterweight. I was super impressed with how he looked against Ugas in April. That was, I think, as good as he's ever looked in his career, with the volume, with the power, with the accuracy, with his ability to recover. We saw him go through a little bit of adversity and then get the stoppage. So that's my pound for pound top 5 right now. But there's a lot of depth, like you said, G. That's one of the beautiful things about boxing right now is there's a lot of depth, a lot of young fighters emerging and making their way up the list, and a lot of guys that are still trying to hang on and keep their places on that list. So go ahead, B. That's
real quick, B. I'm gonna set you up. I really like the Terrence Crawford being number 1. We got to see Errol Spence against Crawford though. So B, take it away.
Oh, man, we absolutely, man. I like Sam's list, man. Terrence Crawford, to me, is definitely the pound-for-pound fighter. Him going against Errol Spence, to me, I don't even think it's close. I talked to Sean Porter about it off camera, just kind of talking or whatever, and he was like, man, I think that Bud's going to win that fight. And I don't even think it's close, honestly. So I definitely put him number 1. And I have to be honest. Inoue, I've only seen the knockout. I haven't watched a lot of his fights, but I would have to put him maybe I'm going to put him at like 5th, just because you guys are talking about him. He's the man. But number 2, I will go with Usyk in what he did in defending his championship. And if he fights Tyson Fury, I think that it will be nice to see him get up there. I'm going to go with Fury at number 3, honestly.
Whoa.
He's undefeated, man. And what he's done, I mean, he still hasn't lost. And he beat the guy. You got to beat the champ to beat a champ. He beat the champ, and he's won. He's won all of his fights against competition that people don't believe that he was going to win those fights. Canelo, I get him number 4. Before this fight, what he had done, I think, had been fantastic. So I give Canelo 4, and then I'll put your guy at number 5. Put your guy at number 5 anyway, just because I respect your opinions, and being that I'm looking at the pound for pound list, they have him at 2 here, but being that I haven't seen him personally, except for the knockout, and Nonito is old. You know what I mean? Like, I love Nonito Donaire, but he's an old dude. I mean, come on, it's not like that was the first time he'd ever been knocked out. So I'll go ahead. And for real, I really wanted to put not Haney, but who's the fighter from Oakland? My guy.
Not David Haney?
Is it Haney? Yeah.
Yeah,
I guess it is Haney that's from Oakland.
Undisputed at 135.
Yeah, undisputed. That's
I like Haney, man. I like Haney. He would be the guy that I'd put at 5 with him if I didn't hear you guys, talking about Inoue. I like Shakur Stevenson too, man.
Yeah, he'll be up there soon. But so many options, guys. So I really appreciate it because I respect you guys' opinion too in boxing. I love our conversation when we were in Vegas. So with that, Fernando, take it away.
All right. Well, obviously, it's time as UFC, but I gotta. I'll use it here in this instance for prediction time. Bryan, who you got?
You know what? Being that I'm the elder statesman on this panel, I like Muhammad Ali. That's my favorite athlete of all time. And Gilbert just sold me on it, man. Talking about George Foreman and Muhammad Ali, man. I think we might see an upset. I think Canelo or Triple G is a good dog to bet on. Being I live in Las Vegas, I don't bet, but I think that putting some money on Triple G, I think that there's a big possibility that he can win this fight. I thought someone would get knocked out, but I think he can win this fight, maybe split decision. I'm gonna go off the rails a little split decision.
Wow.
With someone getting dropped. I think we might see for the first time Canelo ever being hurt, because I've never seen him hurt before.
Oh, wow. Look at Sam Gordon's face. Sam, you take it away.
I know.
I want to. There's definitely a case to be made for Triple G, right? All he has to do is win 7 rounds and on 2 of the 3 cards. That's all you got to do. He has power. He has the jab. If the volume is there and he can stay out of the way of some of those big shots, then yeah, there's a blueprint for him winning the fight. I just don't see it happening. I am going to go. After thinking about this, I like Canelo. I think Canelo stops Triple G. I think Canelo stops Triple G in the 11th round, 10th or the 11th round. I think he breaks him down and stops him. The style of fight, like we said, we if Triple G wants to win this fight, he's going to have to be aggressive. He's going to have to go forward, and he's going to have to take some punishment. And after seeing the way Murata tagged him up a little bit in their fight in April, imagine what those punches are going to be like when it's Canelo Alvarez, and you're getting deeper and deeper into the fight. So I think it's going to be an excellent fight. I think it's going to be a lot of volume. I think it's going to be big time entertainment, and I think Canelo ends the fight with a late stoppage. Becomes the first man to stop Triple G. I believe he's going to retire him. And then we'll see after that. That creates a whole nother discussion of storylines where he goes from there. But it's going to be an incredible fight either way, and cannot wait. It's going to be super exciting, and I am going to try and match. It's going to be a tough task, but I'm going to try and match B-Sal's swag on Saturday. So we'll see if I can pull that off.
Anyway, he got a new suit coming. I already know. You got a new suit coming.
Tailor-made and everything. Gilbert?
Yeah. Part of me likes what Bryan is saying. Like, I think it's gonna be a motivated Triple G. I think his blood's been boiling for the last 4 years. He hates Las Vegas. He hates Canelo. He hates Adelaide Bird. All this is getting in his head. He's probably been punching a bag with the scorecards the last couple of years. But I think I have a lot of respect for Triple G and his work ethic and his chin. I know he's 40 years old. I know he took a couple of shots with Murata, but I think that chin will still be there. He's going to withstand. I think it's going to get to the point where, maybe he hurts him, Sam. I think you're right there with Canelo. I think Canelo's going to be fired up, too, after that kind of a stale loss there with Bivol. But, again, he hates the guy, too, so he's going to be just as fired up, just as motivated. And I think a lot of people aren't giving Canelo credit for the win 4 years ago. So maybe he hears that and he wants to prove it and go after a KO. I think he hurts Triple G. He doesn't get it done because I think Triple G is a warrior. He's going to withstand it. So I'll go unanimous decision, Canelo Alvarez over Triple G to end the trilogy.
I'm going to go the same way, too. But I think Canelo gets booed, though, for not dropping him or not. I think the crowd kind of turns on him a little bit for that because everybody's expecting a knockout, I think. I don't think Canelo delivers on the knockout, and I think people start booing him. Fans start getting irritated, but we'll get a Viva Mexico Cabrones out of him, obviously, and he'll try and turn it the other way. But I think the crowd's going to start turning on Canelo a little bit. I think that Bivol fight, now this, if he doesn't drop Triple G, I think the fans are going to turn him into a heel. So obviously a heel's a bad guy. So I think fans are going to start turning on Canelo a little bit, especially if he doesn't drop Triple G.
That's a bold prediction.
Yeah. A lot of details, Fernando. Yeah.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah.
I'm a wrestling guy, so obviously I want to see a heel. I want to see him turn evil. I want to see him start crapping on fans. So obviously I want to see something like that. But thank you guys.
His beard's gonna be black.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it can't be a red beard. It has to be. He's gonna look like a leprechaun. So obviously he has to turn it into a different color. But maybe Sam can give him some pointers. But thank you guys.
Sam's got a strong beard.
Appreciate you guys. No, for real.
Thank you guys so much for jumping on with us. Sam, Bryan, let the good folks know where they can find your guys' work, especially this weekend.
Well, I'll go first, and Sam he's got that Metro, Wi-Fi at the house, man. You can find me at Bryan, Bryan News 3LV. That's the best way to spell Bryan. But yeah, that's my social for Twitter, for Instagram. I also have a fan page or news page that I had to make on Facebook as well, man. So yeah, hit me up.
Yeah.
And
Obviously.
I was gonna say, Sam, he just told me his laptop died. So you know what? I'm gonna give him information. You can find Sam Gordon's stories at the Las Vegas Review Journal. He's a columnist, Raiders, Aces, boxing, everything in Las Vegas. He has you covered, and it's the Twitter handle is by Sam Gordon. So I got you covered, Sam. I appreciate you guys both for your time, B-Style and Sam Gordon.
Thank you guys so much
Hey,
for jumping
thanks for
on with us,
having
and have fun this weekend. And I hope we get a picture of your guys' outfits on Saturday.
You know what? We will do that. Sam went to get his suit from a guy that I gave him the name for, so we'll definitely get those pictures out.
Thank you so much, Bryan.